What's up, guys? Hope you're all doing well. So I want to talk about the Yankees' 13-game winning streak. I think there's some things that we kind of learned during this streak, and some of the things became obvious, some of the things were not so obvious. But it's pretty clear that one of the consistent things that the Yankees were doing this year is leaving guys on base, and they do this all the time, whether they win or they lose. But when they win, they leave they leave less guys on base than they do when they lose. So that's one thing that the Yankees need to tighten up. And how do they tighten it up? Well, there's a couple guys that they're still not consistent. We've got Rizzo, we've got Gallo, and there's a lot of opportunities that are left out there. And sometimes it's either those guys, or sometimes it could be, it's not, it was Gleyber Torres. So hopefully when he comes back here, that'll improve, because he's also a streaky hitter. But it's Brett Gardner, even though he's been pretty good. Well, there's certain guys that are leaving guys on base, and then when Stanton and Judge are not hot, they are culprits as well. So, and that's indicative to the next component of that I want to talk about, which is the streakiness. Yankees are streaky, and their lineup is streaky too, and in two different ways. One, when they're clicking, obviously they're winning a lot. Good games, bad games, ugly games, slow scoring blowouts, high scoring, blah, blah, blah. And that was pretty much obvious during this 13-game winning streak. But then the opposite happens as well. And this is where I think the Yankees can improve, is like yesterday when their 13-game winning streak was snapped, they looked just lethargic at the plate. And I know it was kind of bound to happen, they were bound to lose, but they kind of went back to, swing, like Stanton, back to swinging at pitches outside the strike zone. Judge had that clutch home run, but again, missed opportunities, leaving dudes on base, back to the things that have caused a lot of these problems. So these are things that are pretty obvious now. They just became, in my opinion, more pronounced during this 13-game winning streak, where there was a balanced attack from the bottom to the top, whether it be Velasquez or Odor or whatever. And the one thing I did notice in this streak is throughout most of this winning streak, they didn't really get any production from Rizzo. And they got very little production from Gallo. So that goes to show you that the Yankees, are a little bit deeper than some folks think. And obviously they've been front loaded by Judge and Stanton, and have some performances by other guys as well. But they can win without production from some of their bigger guys, and just like they can win without production from Judge and Stanton. But they need to get to the point where all four of those guys, including Gio, including Voit, are kind of consistent across the board. And it'll provide a much more balanced attack with this team, making it that much more difficult to get out, because I think the only way that they're going to get through these bigger teams like the Astros and the Rays is if a lot of these guys are kind of clicking on all cylinders at the same time together. We've had that issue where a couple guys get hot, the other guys get cold, and then it switches. And we've had some injury and inconsistency issues in the bullpen, right? And it's kind of going that way too right now, because a couple weeks ago, Johnny Lasagna and Chad Green were cold. Now they're hot again. But then you got Chapman cold or just not there. You've got Britton hurt now. So hopefully their other arms are going to be able to step up and do the things. But we can't. I don't want to get in the habit of relying too much on Albert Abreu yet. He had control issues up until this year, so need to make sure that he's giving him enough time to develop. Luis Hill, I don't want to throw the whole thing on his shoulders either. So a balanced approach is key, and the Yankees have the firepower for a balanced approach. They just need to put it together. And it's become more obvious whether they're on a losing streak or whether they're on a winning streak. But they have not yet had overall production, hot from Gallo, hot from Rizzo, Judge, Stanton. They got too hot and too kind of cold right now. So, and that's where the Yankees are kind of leaving opportunities out there, leaving a lot of guys on base, particularly when they lose, right? Poking me in the neck. And this is where I think they can. This is where I think they can improve, and working on improving that right now before the postseason hits is going to be very, very important. And it's going to put them in a position to not stress the starters too much. Okay, and Nestor Cortez wasn't that bad yesterday. He was just unfortunately the guy that was the victim of the streak being broken. So it was going to be one of them. But the more consistent the lineup is, the less stress they're putting on the relievers and the closers and the relievers and the starters, putting them in less high leverage situations. We've talked about this a little bit before. So we need a balanced approach. When the pitchers aren't doing anything, then you put it all on the hitters. We need that consistent approach, and we had that during this winning streak. And there were a lot of things, small ball, and this is where I think that one reason they didn't do any of that yesterday. They just completely abandoned it. And aside from the 2-run home run from Judge in the 9th inning, the bats were sleeping. So, and I get it. That kid was good, so I totally get that. And they'll face guys like that on some regular basis. So, it is tough, but not abandoning the things that got them there, that helped get them there, is going to be important. So, playing small ball, getting dudes out, moving guys over, making the routine catches, right? Bunting against the shift or whatever, hitting against the shift. Stuff like that. Putting the pitchers going into the 6th or through the 6th to give the relievers a break, right? And not using Johnny Lasagna multiple days in a row for multiple innings. You don't want to wear that arm out, okay? That's another thing. So, I could see one inning, a game, maybe 3 games in a row, but nothing beyond that. We don't want these elite arms wearing out at the end of the season, because then that's going to make it harder for other guys. So, those are the types of things that I learned during this streak, and what they taught me. Let me know what you guys think. There's still room for improvement. They obviously have to do some things here. Maybe more consistent production from the offense across the board. We're either getting a bunch from the bottom half or a bunch from the top half. Some kind of balanced attack would be really helpful, because those other lineups are deeper. Like I said, the Rays aren't a flashy lineup, but they're relentless. Okay, Astros, some superstars in there, relentless. Dodgers, relentless. Padres, relentless. So, I think the Yankees would be wise to start doing the same stuff as well. So you guys let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you later for a post-game recap.